I will install these doors. And to make the doors open and close, I will install some concealed cap hinges like this one. They go like this between the shelf and the doors. In this case, the cap of these concealed hinges is 35 mm in diameter. So I will use this woodworking jig, and in this case with the 35 mm mark looking up. In the other side we can see a 26 mm mark, but I have to use it with the 35 mm mark looking up. Now I have to put this plastic spacer against the edge of the board. I measure the position in which I want to put the hinge. I am going to put it at about 11 cm from the bottom shelf, and these two holes give the position for the screws. I make a mark in each one. Here are the marks. I punch them slightly. And in the same way, I make the marks for the other hinge of this door. In these marks, I have to drill holes using a 4 mm drill bit. I am going to use the duct tape trick as a depth mark. I am going to drill a hole a little shorter than the sheet metal screws that I am going to use. So slowly and very carefully, I drill the 4 mm holes until the tape starts to clean the dust. Now I can fit this woodworking jig in the holes, with the 35 mm mark facing up and the plastic spacer against the edge of the board. If I use a drill bit smaller than 4 mm, this woodworking jig will not fit well into the holes. So there I have the holes in one side of the shelf. I present the door in its position. I want it to be flush here with the top of this shelf, and I open the door just like I will do once I have the hinges installed. Now my woodworking trick is, I have this piece of wood that I put like this against the shelf, and I use a clamp to hold it. In this way, it works as a stop for the door, while I mark where to drill the holes for the hinge cap. So I pull apart the door just a bit, and I fit the woodworking jig in the holes I drilled before. I bring the door closer against the plastic spacer of the jig, and I push the door up. I put the top of the door against the wooden stop, so the hole at 21.5 mm tells where to drill the hole for the 35 mm cap. I punch on the mark, and I make the mark for the other cap hinge on this door. I fit the woodworking jig. I push the door against the plastic spacer and against the wooden stop. I make the mark, and I punch it. Now I have to use a 35 mm Forstner bit to drill the holes for the cap of the hinges. Since I will drill the hole near the edge of the board, these wood strips help to better support the base of the drill jig. In this case, the hinge's cap touches the bottom of the hole and does not support well on the sides. So very carefully, giving several taps to the trigger of the drill, I give a little more depth to the holes. I am drilling very lightly and checking until the sides of the hinge rest well on the board. Now I can install the hinges. The jig that I used to mark where to drill the holes also helps to keep the right distance between the door and the shelf. I have to loosen this screw so that the sides of the cap rest well on the door. I mark the position for the screws to the sides of the cap and I punch the marks. So now, with a very thin drill bit, I drill the pilot holes. Drilling about 5 mm deep is enough. Here I will insert these screws. It is better if I put the 4 mm thick plywood pieces just to lift it a bit. I insert the screws to the sides of the cap. And now I loosen this screw so I can set the position of the mounting plate. I insert the screws and making sure that the distance between the shelf and the door is the one that marks the spacer in the plastic jig, I tighten the screw. I screw the other cap hinge. And I check the door position. Well, here it is okay, but here it protrudes just a bit. So I use the adjusting screw in the hinge until the door is flush with the side. Now the door is perfect. And I can install the other door. I already used the jig to mark where to drill the inside of the shelf, so I use the 4mm drill bit to drill the holes. I mark where to drill in the door and I drill the hole for the cap of the hinges. I mark and I drill the holes for the screws to the sides of the caps. And I screw the cap hinges in place. I adjust the position of the door and here I have the two doors of this shelf. Now let's talk about the screws I use. On the doors to the sides of the cap, I use these screws that can be used in chipboards. But for the inside of the shelf, I should use screws like this one or like this one. These have a height and very vertical thread to grip the chipboard well. Both are for cap hinges, and they allow to regulate the vertical position of the mounting plate of the hinge, but I couldn't find them in any nearby hardware store. I only have these two. So I decided to use these self-tapping screws, which fit well and tight in the 4mm in diameter holes. But here, in the holes in the mounting plate, they don't allow me to regulate the position of the mounting plate. But because I used the trick of the strip that works as a stop, I didn't need to adjust the vertical position of the door. But since I was not happy showing you how I assembled the cap hinges with these screws, I went to the hardware store to find some thinner self-tapping screws. And these ones allow to move the mounting plate. So I could first make a 4mm hole just a little less in depth than these plastic pins of the jig. And now these screws tighten well, and they allow me to adjust the position of the mounting plate of the cap hinges. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to click the bell to get all the notifications when I upload a new video.